Okay, before we get started on today's projects, I want to thank Corey McElroy and Aquarium Co-op. They encourage their followers, and I want to thank their followers who came to our YouTube channel. Traffic really jumped after Corey did that. You can tell that they're very, very popular across the world. We're getting people from Australia, England, China watching. So I want to thank Corey and Aquarium Co-op. I'm planning on our Facebook page posting Corey's original video of us, which is a little over an hour long. And it was post Harvey, but pre what I'm calling Valentine Day's Massacre, the recent weather event. We are now, I think this is day 15 from the time we started serious prep for the storm, going through the storm, and then working on recovery. We've gotten a lot of dead fish out, well over a ton. We're still finding some in nooks and crannies in the gutter. Some are stuck in our concrete walkway, blocked walkways. This morning, like I said, today we're starting the next phase. We've done most of the removal. By the way, our ammonia went from, I think 4 days ago, 1 part per million, which is toxic, and is now down below 0.25 parts per million. That's thanks to all of our plants, the hornwort, even the duckweed, which I'm not discouraging right now because we need it, the hoja santa piperidum, which is a Central American Mexican herb, used to make moles and to wrap meat in it to impart a licorice taste. So now we're starting to inventory our fish. Susie's been working all morning on our convict cichlids. I think we have about 15 55-gallon vats of them, some breeder vats and some where we're holding fish that we're growing up to check as breeders. So far it's been 100% mortality rate. So far as I can tell, we have none. She's doing 2 more vats over in greenhouse 1. Maybe we have some survivors there, we'll find out. Convicts were one of the most common fish in our gutters, floor gutters and sumps. They're very effective spawners, but I can't find any live ones, and they're the bulk of the fish that we took out. The other one is a black belt, Vieja species, nice big cichlid, and it looks like we probably lost 100% of those as well. We'll see as we get into them. Now I'm starting on the 300-gallon vats, cichlid breeding vats. This is in greenhouse 2. This is row C, vat 1. So,
can you mention something about the Texas convict hybrid?
I haven't checked them yet.
Okay.
But they're on my list. I did check. I had set up a pair over in row A for breeding, but I didn't even find bodies in there, so something must have happened to them before the storm, or they got picked out and I didn't notice it. But we have 300 or 400 of them, so I'm going to go through. They're in the other greenhouse, and I'll go through and see if they survived. I don't recall getting a lot of dead ones out of the vats they're in, so in fact I don't recall getting any dead ones, so maybe they're okay. It'll be interesting to see if the hybrid has inherited the cold resistance of Texas cichlids.
The male was Texas cichlid, collected out of Coletto Creek here locally.
On Christmas, I think Christmas Day or Christmas Eve 3 years ago.
Sounds right.
Yeah, nephew Carl's cousin was in from Florida, and his His daughter was along, and it was a nice, typical South Texas Christmas day, 75 degrees. Coleto Creek's a nice clear stream. We went and seined up some fish, and the kids played in water. And Liz, Carl's son, one of our grand brats, caught a little little Texas cichlid about an inch long, took it home, put it in an aquarium. It grew up, and he was kind of lonely, so we gave him a black convict female. And they had, I think, 3 batches of fry before she finally died. The hybrids are interesting. They're mostly colored like Texas cichlids, except for the females have some black barring. They didn't get the F1, first generation hybrids, didn't inherit the female convict's bright red, blue, and green color. She was out of a line we've been selecting for color in. I hope to get the F2 to see if we can get that color, assuming that the hybrids are fertile. Okay, so we're going to do this vat, 2C1. This is Pseudotropheus demasoni. You'll note that I pronounce that terminal I in the species name as a long E. That's because in Latin, a single I is long E. Now, if you have 2 I's in a row, it's pronounced EI, just a quirk of the language. But this is Pseudotropheus demasoni. Interesting fish. It's an Mbuna from Lake Malawi, mouth brooder. The males and females are very similarly colored. I have some difficulty on young adults sexing them. So what I've decided that I don't even think they can sex each other. It's just the male approaches somebody and courts them, and if it lays eggs, it's a female. If it's a male, they fight. I'm convinced they don't know until they get that far down the process. Anyway, so what we're going to do here, I need to grab a couple buckets. I wasn't ready. Let me run out and get a couple buckets. Oh, here's one. We have, those other buckets have mystery snails in them, just in case I get any fish. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is pull out some of the hornwort and set it aside. At this point, we're not throwing any hornwort away. Typically, I harvest about 25 pounds of hornwort a day, and there's a dead swordtail. I was growing some tuxedo swordtails in with these fish. Some livebearers do remarkably well. Swordtails and guppies do very well with African cichlids. So anyway, I'm going to remove the duckweed and set it aside. Then I'm going to pull cichlid hotels out while I'm in that process. This is a cichlid hotel. It's actually 2 of them. This one needs a repair. It's 2-inch PVC with holes drilled in it and 2-inch aquaculture mesh cylinders fastened to it. And then I have a hook so it doesn't sit on the bottom and collect gunk. It provides shelter for young fish and for subordinate females and carrying females. This is another one we use. This is black drain pipe, which tends to float, so I put a piece of PVC in it to make it sink. I put, in each one of the 300s, I put 3 sets of these, so 6 of them because there are 2 in a set, and one with the drain pipe. And let's see, there is a dead Ancestris. I had a bunch of Ancestris in here. We polyculture Ancestris with cichlids. That's a dead male. I think, judging from things, I think we probably have 100% fatality rate on Ancestris as well. Carl has a pair across the road in an aquarium, and we'll probably get some breeding stock from Ancestors Factory, which is up by Fort Worth. Customer of ours, they buy stuff from us, we're going to buy stuff from them. I've been meaning to go up and visit them. I did refer somebody on Facebook yesterday to them. Somebody in Austin, she had lost her Ancestris and wanted to know where she could get some, and I referred her to Ancestors Factory. You might want to look them up. They're on Facebook. I don't know if they have a website, but they are on Facebook. Okay, in each one of these cages, we call these fry cages, we put 2 hotels. They have a mesh bottom, and little fish can swim through, big fish can't. So that's a shelter for fry. Those are a bunch of mystery snails. We're kind of purging mystery snails from our breeder vats because they overpopulate. They're kind of a pain. If you can see one of the overflows. Oh, so why don't you step out of the way so Carl can film? Big dog. A fair-sized, medium-sized mystery snail is perfect at clogging up those overflows. What happens, for those of you who don't know our system, this is a big recirculating system. Oh, here's a Susie. Here's a nice cherry shrimp. Oops. Oh well, it's a feral cherry shrimp now. Yeah, it's a nice big breeder female, but she decided to go wild. A couple more Ancestris. What happens is you see the water flowing in to the vat. That much water then flows out. That's about, each one of those faucets is doing about 50 gallons an hour. So it's pretty good turnover. The water flows out into the floor gutter, which is about 6 inches deep. The floor is made of Aquaculture pond liner. And then it flows down to the south end of the greenhouse, almost 100 feet away, into a 4-foot deep sump where you can see the piping down there. We have 6 pumps that pick the water up. Each one of them pumps around 6,500 gallons an hour, and it pumps the water back through these 2-inch lines. So the water is just circulating through here with plants removing ammonia. And I think I said earlier in this video that we had an ammonia spike because of all the dead fish, over a ton of dead fish. Our plants couldn't keep up, and they were impacted by the cold weather as well. So they weren't photosynthesizing. We had 10 days of gloomy weather like this. We have had some sunny days. But after spiking up to about 1 part per million, we're down below 0.25 part, and it's going down daily. So the plants are kicking in and doing their job. We have no mechanical filtration, no chemical filtration, no UV, no ozone, nothing but plant filtration, which is why I see all these plants in here. Okay, so I'm going to take this cage out, a couple more dead Ancestris in there. No fish, but I wasn't expecting any fish because I must have another hotel. Oh, this is a Ancestris breeding cave. A few days ago I went through and dumped all the cages and picked them up to get any fish that were caught underneath, and we used to have wooden walkways, which by the way don't work well. They break all the time, no matter how you waterproof them. We make breeding caves for them, weight them down with a brick. Ancestors had these bright fuchsia colored eggs. It's kind of interesting when you see a clutch of them. I see another hotel over here, or another breeding cave. We have started going to, with Ancestris, getting these hollow concrete blocks, 8 by 8 by 4, and they're hollow in the middle, and the male Ancestris really seem to like it. It's big enough for them to get in, but they seem to like tight spaces. So we've gone to using those. They're cheap, they're easy to get from McCoy's or Home Depot. Okay, let's see, I need to find where I wasn't prepared for this. Oh, here's a net. I was more prepared than I thought. Okay, we're going to see if we have any live fish in here. Let me, well, normally when we're working them, what I would do at this point is net out everybody I could. And then I would siphon the vat down and get everybody else. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oops, another. Oh, by the way, you see the gunk on the bottom? We call it mom or gunk. It's loaded with, we don't over clean the vats, because that stuff's loaded with paramecium and beneficial bacteria. In fact, when I want to harvest paramecium, I use a 10-inch brine shrimp net. This one is a coarse net, but I get a brine shrimp net and scoop up several inches of that in a bucket. Another dead Ancestris, and fill the bucket up with water, leave it a few hours, come back, and it's cloudy. It looks like basically like clouds of swarms of eddies of paramecium multinucleatum. Perfect, and you just pour it off and it's perfect for tiny fry food. But anyway, we don't over clean because I find that the mulm on the bottom is beneficial. And it does provide food for fry because there are a bunch of fry-sized things in there, the paramecium for one. Okay, let's see if we get anything. I think I just got another. Shrimp and a molly and a little swordtail. Another swordtail. But it looks bad for cichlids. Okay, clean that up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and dump this in here, and later on I'll pour that off to collect those. So that does not look good. Typically, I would get a number of juveniles. Dead Ancestris. Another dead Ancestris. Some more swordtails. Okay, there's a somewhere here is interfering with my netting. Swordtails, no adult swordtails, but a lot of fry. I wonder if the fry are hardier than the adults. There's another. Flower pot glued together. I don't think they like these. I think that's too spacey. They seem to prefer places. I don't know what other experience other people have with them, but for me it seems like they prefer. Well, it looks like no cichlids. I'll do a couple more net throughs and then, oops, another cave for Ancistrus. Okay, so what we're finding here are no adult, well, here's one adult sword, a female non-tuxedo, which happens. Another dead Ancistrus, more shrimp, some more little swordtails. Okay, well, let's put siphons on this and see what happens. I've managed to stack stuff in my way, so move this out. I'm going to set up a net, even though I suspect we don't have any little fish that, well, we do have some. Oh, let's see, I've got, these are the nets I use on a siphons I use on a 300. Another Ancistrus. Okay, that one started. Oh, you might note I have a T on the end of this, and the purpose of that is to prevent fish from getting caught. If you have just one entrance, the suction will suck a fish up against it and they get caught and die. This way, if they bump up against it, there's water coming in the other side, and there's not as much suction. And we don't lose fish to that. It only takes a couple times of losing a nice big breeder male to try to come up with a solution that prevents that. I need to turn these valves off. Okay. Okay. That one's running. Go over here and turn this valve off. At my annual physical each year, which wife and Medicare insist upon for some reason, doctor always asks me whether I exercise, and I say no. All my exercise is passive, working in the greenhouses, and you're going to get to see some of my exercise here because the vat next door, the 2C2 vat, it has the overflows clogged up and it's overrunning, so I'm going to clamber across this vat to reach the overflows, which have to be in the back, and there's a reason for that. It's historical. These vats were in a different orientation at one time, and those are on the side, but I ended up turning them because we've got one more vat in here that way, and now the overflows are on the back. So I'm going to crawl across here and attempt not to fall in and unclog the overflows. In this case, it wasn't a snail, it was actually hornwort blocking it. These are some Aridum ojosantus leaves. Okay, now I need to get to the other one from the other side. So you see, I get plenty of exercise just doing this every day. So I don't have to go to the gym. Okay, got that one unclogged and it'll drain down.
The Masons and the 55s are all gone.
All gone? So we lost that species entirely. Yeah, Susie just told me that she was checking Demasnes in the other greenhouse, our backup breeders, and they are dead. So that's a popular fish. We'll have to get some breeding stock again sometime. Okay, that's going to siphon down for a while. Susie, you need to process these snails. We're filling these, well, Carl's down there. All the vats that we're processing, about 15 vats of convicts that are now empty, we're going ahead and refilling in order to do some water change. What happens is I'm running well water in at the rate I would imagine about 100 gallons an hour. And this system is around 35,000 gallons. And excess water flows out into a wetland at the end of the greenhouses, and as we siphon water out, it raises the level, causes the stuff to flow out. So we're getting rid of some of the water that has higher ammonia level and replacing it with well water, which is very low. During the storm, we ran as much well water in as we could because our well water comes up at 73 degrees. Between the two systems, we have 75,000 gallons of water, and it's just hard to run enough in to make a difference. Okay, that's going to take a while to drain. I'm pretty sure we don't have any fish in it, except for the swords. I see some sword fry swimming around, but I doubt that we have a single live ancestris or Demasne. We had, I think, let's see, we had 54 breeders in there. It was probably about 3 or 4 males, and the rest were females. But they all seem to be gone. I did notice walking around this morning that there are at least some live OB peacocks. So we might have a start on those. You want to take a break here, or okay, we're going to take a break. We'll come back when this is siphoned down. Okay, while that's siphoning down, we decided to come into greenhouse 1 and look for survivors. That's a dead swordtail. I did see some big live swordtail, red swordtails in here, so some of those made it. The cichlid in here is Protomelis tineolatus, red empress, and I'm not sure, it's hard to see in here when there's no sunlight. I haven't seen any of those, but they would be a little bit harder to see. This is an OB peacock. Let's see which one it is. Actually, this is a California dragon blood OB. And I see some females back there. And I see some juveniles, so that's good news. This is another peacock. The label's gone. It's an OB of some sort. I see several females. see, I don't see anybody in there, but any of the wild species tend to be colored in such a way they can't be seen from above. Too rotted to tell. And that's because they're subject to bird predation. Their colors are from the side, not from above. Don't see anybody in there. Dead Plecostomus. Do a little bit of maintenance while we're waiting. See, this is a valve clogged up with or an overflow clogged up with mystery snail. Interesting thing is we had 3 of these vats split during the storm. Now, I don't know why. I mean, it got down to 55, but they want a big Plecostomus. I'm not quite sure why that temperature would cause them to split, but 3 of them did. Dead fish. That's an OB. Oh yeah, we've got juveniles there anyway, and I see a female. We had a lot of overflows and most of our labels came off. And I can always remember where everybody is when I'm doing, looking at them daily, but there's just been too many other things to do. By the way, this is a red mangrove from a descendant of a propagule we collected in Key West in 1997. Here's a dead gold female breeder. We use those pretty exclusively as ammonia control, but they like to become trees, and worse than that, they're a host for what is locally called an asp. It's a moth caterpillar that looks like a hairy teardrop, and you ever run into one, you never forget them. They not only hurt, but make you throw up. Very unpleasant experience. So, and they really like the red mangroves, so we've pretty much quit raising them. Let's see. While we're waiting, I'm just doing some routine maintenance. Unclogging overflows, taking out dead fish. Okay, let's take a quick break. Okay, usually I don't let them siphon this far down. Now you see the gunk on the bottom, which we don't discourage. Let's say it's full of beneficial stuff. Another ancestral cage. A net that probably a raccoon knocked in. We get raccoons in here occasionally. Here's one of your nets, Susan. Okay, all I see are some fry, no cichlid fry. They're all swordtails and guppies. I'm going to turn the water back on and fill it, and we'll reuse this vat for something else, assuming we have anything. This is a bad start. I had hopes for this because I didn't recall pulling that many fish out of here. Swordtail fry, it looks like all the big swordtails died, mostly. We found that one female. And a few guppies, no cichlids, Let's see what siphoned in the net. Oh, some larger swordtail siphoned in the net. There's a shrimp. I guess I'm just going to dump these guys back in there. So we lost one of our better selling, and boom, it's good selling because the females were attractive too. It's a bright blue and black fish. Can't show you what they look like since we don't have any. There are photos on our website you can see. So not good news, but just look at it this way, I've got a vat for something else. Okay, I think that's it for right now. Good fish keeping.